Hello everyone, welcome to the 11th KK chess series. Today we're going to talk about tactics, tell you about some of the basic tactics types. So first of all, why do we even have to learn tactics? Well, tactics are some of the most basic ways that you can get in a position advantage, especially a type of material advantage. You will see in the previous examples, through tactics, you are able to trade your less valuable materials with the opponent's more valuable materials. Let's look at it. So first, let's begin with one of the easiest tactics. It is called a fork or a double attack. Let's say in this position, white plays e4. Now white has two threats at the same time. It is threatening to take the knight and take the bishop. Also, we see that black cannot take the pawn because the pawn is supported by another white's pawn. So in the end, black has only one move, right? After his move, it's our move. If black wants to protect its bishop, it moves its bishop away, then we can simply capture black's knight. And if black wants to protect its knight, it moves its knight away, and we simply capture its bishop. We say that the pawn is worth 1 point, and the knight and the bishop are worth 3 points each. So black is forced to give up at least one of the 3-point pieces to trade off one of our 1-point pieces. So that is obviously a bad trade, right? But we forced black to do so, and black has no choice but to comply. Now, not only can a pawn do a fork or a double attack, other pieces can too. For example, if white places a rook right here, it is also attacking the bishop and the knight at the same time. If we put the queen over here, it is also a fork or a double attack. Well, from the name we can see, as there is a double attack, there can also be triple attacks. So for example, let's say if the position is like this, and white has a knight on this e7 square. This knight is attacking 3 of black pieces at the same time. Now you can call it a fork, but you can also call it a triple attack. Now black has to make a decision between protecting one of these 3 pieces. Now note that although there is sometimes a double attack, it is not necessarily that you gain material advantage. For example, in this position, we see that white's bishop is threatening both of black's knight. However, black can move one of its knight at the same time protect the other knight, so that white cannot capture black's knight for nothing. And if white does it, it's a 3-point change, so white does not gain any material advantage. Okay, so this is the first type of tactic. Now the second type of tactic that I want to share is called a discovery attack. So let's say in this position, we see that the white's bishop is potentially aiming at black's king, but it has a knight in its way. So if white moves its knight away, then black's king is simply under attack. Now black must deal with its king immediately. So when the knight moves away and attacks the queen is simply captured. We see that this is somewhat like a double attack, but it's attacking with 2 of our pieces. So black's king is under check. Its first priority is to stop this check. If black simply moves its king away, then white gets to capture black's queen easily. If black tries to block the check with its queen, then it's simply giving up its queen. So that wouldn't work. This is called a discover attack. Now a discover attack is especially strong when you attack a king, right? Since the king is top priority and it must be dealt first. But if the king is not one of the pieces that is attacked, it is still strong. We see that we are threatening a 9-point or 10-point piece, that is the queen, and a 5-point piece, that is the rook, at the same time with one of our 3-point piece each. So naturally, black will want to protect its 9-point piece, right? It is more valuable. So when it moves the queen away, we simply get to capture the 5-point rook and trade it with a 3-point bishop. So we gain material advantage. Now, similarly, as always, a discover attack does not guarantee that you will gain material advantage. So let's look at this position. Similarly, the bishop is replaced with the queen at the same position, which is also potentially threatening the black king. Now, if white moves its knight away, now checking the king and attacking the rook at the same time. Note that black cannot capture this knight, right? Although it's just in black's mouth because its king is under attack. However, in this position, black can move away this rook which is being attacked and at the same time prevent this check from the queen. Now we see that this e6 rook is now guarded by this rook over here, so white cannot capture it immediately and white does not gain material advantage. The last type of tactic I want to share is called attacking the pinned piece. So let's start defining what is a pinned piece. In this position, we see that black's bishop is attacking white's queen, only there is a knight guarding or blocking the bishop right here. So if somehow this knight is moved away, then black can simply capture white's queen. However, this queen cannot be captured and white will do whatever it can to protect this queen from being captured by this bishop. Now in this type of position, we called this knight to be pinned. It cannot move. Now technically, according to the rules, it can, but it has to suffer a loss of a queen. Now if this queen is supplanted by a king, then white cannot move the knight according to the rule. So we call this knight a pinned piece. Now by attacking this pinned piece is when we attack this piece with another piece that is less valued. So for example, this knight is worth 3 points, right? And a pawn is worth 1 point. In this position, black attacks this knight by advancing its pawn forward, threatening to capture the knight. Now, as we previously mentioned, this knight cannot move away. If it does, then black captures the white queen. So white cannot move its knight, and the next move, black can capture the knight with its pawn, trading a 1-point piece with a 3-point piece, gaining material advantage. Now also, still, attacking a pinned piece does not guarantee that you gain material advantage. If black's king, let's just say, unfortunately, is in this square, we see that when moving the knight away, let's just say to this e5 square, the white is attacking black's king. Now black really wants to capture this queen on d1 because white moves its pinned piece away. However, its king is under attack. If black takes the queen, then white takes the king. Now that is not allowed under the rules, so black has no time to capture white's queen. It has to protect its king by moving it away. Then white can do something else with its queen. For example, capture the bishop back. However, if we change this position to a king being pinned down by a bishop, this knight, by the rules of chess, cannot move. Right? If we say that we move the knight to e5 and attack the black king, our king is first under attack. Now it's black's move, right? So black captures our king first before we capture black's king. So this move in the first hand is against the chess rules. So we see that this knight is perfectly pinned. Now in today's class, we talked about 3 of the most common seen types of tactics, which can help you gain material advantage in most cases, but not all of them. In the next class, I will discuss some of the more complicated and combine some of the tactics together in some positions. Thank you all for watching this video.